Community Participation for Clean Surroundings, ExNoRa, India. Background: ExNoRa International is a broad based voluntary non governmental organization. It has created widespread environmental and civic awareness by promoting community or street directly involved in a voluntary effort in waste collection, removal, recycling, and keeping the environmental clean and green. The local units of ExNoRa have made innovations to this scheme by adopting different methods of disposal, recycling, reuse, and composting of waste, which reflects initiative and a conscious decision making process. The entire scheme is managed by the residents of each street or community. This sense of involvement in community work gives great satisfaction to the participants. Narrative: ExNoRa International started off as a club of concerned citizens who were worried about the deteriorating cleanliness of Madras. Some of the founding members had seen clean streets abroad and were determined to try and make the streets of Madras as clean. The primary or golden objective of ExNoRa was to generate ideas. As the acronym suggests, these ideas were to be excellent, novel, and radical. ExNoRa. The second objective was to create civic and environmental awareness among the citizens. And finally, ExNoRa wanted to provide a service to the public which would turn these excellent, novel, and radical ideas into practice. It is ExNoRa's last objective of practical dimension, which offers insight to the prospects of decentralizing the provision of civic services to NGOs or private sector. When the corporation chose to experiment with hydro containers at Kamaraj Avenue, Adayar, Madras, ExNoRa got involved in the collection of garbage. For the corporation's experiment to be successful, garbage would have to be placed directly into the hydro containers so that corporation workers would later mount them directly on trucks. These hydro containers were made available at the end of every street so that the garbage would be dumped into it directly and not strewn in and around the dustbins. From here, the containers would be hauled onto the corporation trucks and taken to the dumping sites. The residents found it inconvenient to carry the garbage from their respective houses to the end of the streets for disposal. It was here that ExNoRa stepped in to provide the practical alternative. The rag picker was responsible for much of the mess on the roads, so getting his cooperation would not only eliminate this problem but would also assure the rag pickers of a source of income. Instead of rummaging through corporation bins, the rag picker was officially designated the street beautifier. ExNoRa took a loan from a bank to buy a tricycle cart and also paid the street beautifier monthly salary of 650 rupees. The street beautifier would come and collect the garbage every morning at 8 a.m. and thereafter sweep the street. In return, every household at Kamaraj Avenue contributed 10 rupees per month towards the salary of the street beautifier. The civic ExNoRa movement was thus born from this experiment. After successfully working hand in hand with the corporation at Kamaraj Avenue, Adayar, ExNoRa has used this model to promote the idea of community involvement in collection and transportation of garbage. This success of a Kamaraj Avenue illustrated two important points: that the cooperation of the public is desirable and that it is possible to work hand in hand with the rag picker. The principle of community involvement has spread through the civic ExNoRa movement. In Madras city, between 900 to 950 civic ExNoRas are actively functioning today. On an average, each civic ExNoRa comprises 70 to 75 families, which varies from area to area and street to street. Each civic ExNoRa has its own committees comprising of a president, vice president, secretary, joint secretary, and treasurer, which manages its own finances as well as administration. Household contributions vary from 1 rupee to 20 rupees. The garbage collected is segregated and all the reusable materials are sold to scrap dealers by the street beautifier for recycling. This augments the street beautifier's salary. The organic waste from several streets is taken to a common collection point from where the municipal authorities transport to the dumping yards. In this process, the work of municipal authorities is reduced since the number of collection points are less. Impact: 18% of garbage of Madras city is collected per day, 1,500 jobs created. Sustainability: The adverse effects of the deteriorating environment on the health and hygiene of the common man towards these issues were a challenge that the ExNoRans were ready to tackle. The basic premise with which ExNoRa began its operations was that community participation at all levels of functioning was essential to make their work a success. ExNoRans work hand in hand with the governmental bodies and help supplement the latter's work rather than work in isolation. The sustainability of ExNoRa's work is very clear from the various case studies. The different case studies help to highlight that ExNoRa has been successful in encouraging the people to act on their own initiative towards creating any required change. The principle of community involvement has spread through the civic ExNoRa movement. As of 1995, there are nearly 900 civic ExNoRas actively functioning at Madras. The advent of civic ExNorans has led to a more effective system of garbage collection and disposal. Garbage is being collected and disposed in a more organized manner by households. Greater awareness has been generated among the communities about the need for maintaining a systematic method for garbage clearance and removal. As a result, households in general are taking a more active role in keeping their surroundings clean. ExNoRa is also concerned with other special and environmental issues. Therefore, is initiated or supported activities towards clearing a clean and green environment for all. Though the civic ExNoRas have responded well to tackle local community needs, there is still room for improvement. Everyone needs to get involved, everyone's interests have to be determined so that the community-based ExNoRas can strive to meet them. The other factor which must be kept in mind is to ensure the effectiveness of local institutions in a municipal setup such as Madras and an interface between the citizens and the corporation. It is important that ExNoRa provides its services, but for its efforts to bring about meaningful social change, it is necessary that these efforts are officially recognized. The provision of urban services such as garbage collection and disposal by NGOs should become part of any strategy aimed at delivering services to the citizens of Madras and especially the urban poor. Groups such as ExNoRa should be more directly involved in the municipal corporation's efforts. Indicators: the impact of the project, public participation, the sustainability of the project, regular garbage collection, the success of the project, clear environment.